According to surviving documents, more than 900 people attempted to escape from Auschwitz-Birkenau over a period of 4.5 years. There were also 3 collective escapes in the camp's history. Each time someone escaped from hell on earth, the Germans applied the principle of collective responsibility. Here's what punishment awaited those who stayed behind the wire. The first ones. The first transport arrived at Auschwitz on June 14, 1940 from Tarnow, and already on July 6 the camp administration registered the escape. The escapee was a Pole, Tadeusz Wojciechowski, who, cooperating with civilian workers, seized the chance to escape from hell. It is assumed that the repression applied after this escape, and above all the brutal punitive roll call, discouraged prisoners from trying, so that at first escapes were infrequent. Terror and intimidation. By the end of 1940, only 2 willing prisoners had followed in Wojciechowski's footsteps, and by 1941 there had been about 40 escapes, due to the exceptionally brutal repression used by the SS. The Germans spared no effort to isolate the prisoners from the local population through terror and intimidation, discouraging any cooperation. They also adopted the principle of selecting at least 10 prisoners and placing them in the bunkers of Block 11, where they were threatened with death by starvation. The first such event took place on April 23, 1941, after the escape of Stanislav Belek. Then M. Batko died. Subsequently, so-called decimations took place. June 17, 1941, the escape of A. Yelinsky, July 29, 1941, the escape of Z. Pulaski in the death of Maximilian's father Maria Kolbe, August 7, 1941, after the escape of probably R. Sanowski, and September 1, 1941 after the escape of Jan Nowacek, when 10 prisoners from his commando were poisoned by Cyclone B in Block 11. This was the first attempt to use gas to kill people en masse. About a dozen people died then. It was almost a 20-hour roll call. The camp registers, which are still incomplete, still record more than 900 names of people who tried to escape from Auschwitz. There were also 3 collective escapes in the camp's history. In June 1942 from a punishment company, in November 1942 Soviet prisoners of war escaped, and in October 1944 there was a mutiny combined with an escape attempt from the Sonderkommando in Birkenau. It is estimated that at least 180 prisoners successfully escaped. Sometimes a figure of 220 is also given, but this depends on the method of counting used. Tadeusz Wojciechowski's unexpected escape infuriated the Germans, who outdid themselves in their use of restrictions, initiating the camp system of collective responsibility while ignoring the rather illusory security of the zone. In the first half of July 1940, the camp was surrounded only by a wooden fence left over from the Polish barracks, and barbed wire, then still without lethal tension, surrounded only a few blocks. Nevertheless, Tadeusz Wojciechowski's escape went down in the annals of the camp for several reasons. First, the roll call of all prisoners, the so-called stand down, was held. It lasted from 5 p.m. on July 6 until about 1 p.m. the next day, almost 20 hours, and SS men and capos constantly moved among the standing prisoners, beating, kicking and harassing them for any reason. At the end of the roll call of punishments, although the escapee was not apprehended, many of the extremely exhausted prisoners could not walk to their block on their own. This was the first roll call of punishments and the longest in the history of Auschwitz. It was during this roll call that the punishment of flogging was first publicly administered using a special goat constructed in the camp carpentry workshop, which later became famous as an exceptionally cruel instrument. The flogging was carried out with a 4 cm diameter stick, and the beaten prisoner had to count the number of blows in German. Any mistake resulted in the punishment starting all over again.